Hello, today we are going to take a look at the Arrow 3 by JustFlight in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this is the Piper Arrow. It dates from the mid to late 1970s, and as you can see it's really wonderfully modelled. We're on the ground at Booker Airfield, by the way, if you're wondering where the airfield is. It's in the background. As you can see, as we look around this, it's really nicely made. It has tie downs, it has chocks, and actually it's pretty much a study level aeroplane. You can buy a pack with the various versions of the Arrow from JustFlight at the moment, and a couple of other aeroplanes as well for about £45. So let's go and have a look inside the aircraft. It has a tablet, so you can use the tablet to control things like the chocks and the tie downs, which we will remove, and then we can use the COM switch here, just hides the tablet. Okay, so looking around you can see it's very much of its time. The modern glass cockpit instruments don't exist in this aeroplane, which I think is actually really good. I much prefer steam gauges to glass cockpits. Anyway, so first things first, let's go and switch on the batteries. And you can see immediately we've done that, we've got a light flashing down here. What that relates to is a switch down here in between the seats, which is the emergency gear down. Oops, pressed the wrong button there. I pressed the G instead of F to center the view up. Okay, so let's go and just make sure that our throws on our levers are correct. So there's the throttle, there's the mixture, and we've got ailerons, we've got elevators, we've got rudders. Okay, everything's looking good. And we've got the flaps in the Piper. The flap is a huge lever. There we go. And of course there's no air brakes in this aircraft. No spoilers. Okay, so let's go and power some things up. We've turned the power on. We'll go and turn on the pitot heat, and we'll turn on the lights outside. Again, we're just using a functional startup sequence to show you what's happening. I'm not doing things necessarily in the right order. So we'll go and turn on some of these instruments around the cockpit. So some of them are a little bit fiddly to get the mouse into the right place, as you can see with this one. Okay, and this one can go to there, and that one can go to there. That one could go, yeah, it should be in the middle position. It's quite tricky unless you've seen the real aircraft to know where some of the dials go, or some of the switches go, because they've worn off. There's the transponder. Got an ADF. ADF is rarely used in the world anymore. We can switch the distance measuring equipment on. We can switch on the GPS, and again it's a world of difference to a modern GPS. So we can switch it on here and turn the brightness up. We can press enter on this, and then it will configure itself acquiring satellites, which takes it some time. It's not as fast at it as a modern cell phone, for example. So we'll leave that going. Okay, so let's go and start the engines. So to start or engine I should say. So we will move the prop, we will increase the throttle slightly, we've put the mixture on rich. Get the yoke out of the way for a moment, and we will turn the throttle or the engine to start. And there we go. Engine is running. We're sat here on the parking brake. So we're going to move the flaps to take off position. And let's take this plane for a circuit, shall we? Okay, I'm just going to check around some of the switch positions, see that we've done everything we needed to do. I think we have. It's quite a simple aeroplane to fly. Obviously some of the systems are vastly different than you would be, than you are used to, but that's not such a bad thing. Okay, parking brake released, and we're rolling. So it's very well modelled. The ground handling is fantastic. So the wind is actually in the opposite direction today, so we're going to roll down the runway and turn around and take off on runway 6 instead of runway 24 at Booker. So let's go onto the grass and follow the line down to the far end of the runway. The sound effects are fantastic. While we're just trundling down, I'm just going to check the volume levels so you can hear what I'm hearing. I might turn it up a little bit so you can hear more. There we go. Steer back to the centre line of the guideline here. So the sound modelling in the Arrow is absolutely fantastic. So we're just going to fly a basic circuit around Booker Airfield. So this is runway 06. So full throttle. Giving it quite a lot of left foot to hold it on the centre line. So rotate and we're up. We're accelerating gently, we can put the gear up. Being thrown around quite a lot, there's a lot of turbulence out there today. So flaps up as well. And throttle back to 85% and level out gently and begin our turn. It's coming down to about 500 feet a minute on the climb out. We'll get to about 1500 feet eventually. I have to say it handles wonderfully and it feels like you're actually flying. The modelling of it is brilliant. Realised I didn't calibrate the altimeter when we took off, so I'm just sorting that out. So that's the reciprocal of the runway direction. So back to 50% throttle. Can trim down a little bit. So it happily flies along about 110 knots on 50% throttle. At 1500 feet, which is not bad going. You see there's the airfield down there. And again, look at the quality of the modelling in the aircraft. It's fantastic, isn't it? So this is the JustFlight Arrow. Piper Arrow. Let's get back on course of the direction we wanted to be going. It has a full autopilot. Again, the controls for the autopilot are not going to be like you've expected to see in modern aeroplanes. So it's a little bit idiosyncratic about how you change autopilot modes, but it works. Okay, let's have a look at it outside while we're flying along. It's a gorgeous aeroplane, isn't it? Okay, so should we turn around and do an approach? The only thing I don't quite like is you can't crouch down easily in Flight Sim to see out of from the underneath of the corner of the window, which makes turning in for approaches problematic, shall we say. The Okay, so the klaxon you heard there was me pulling the throttle back too much. It's got an automatic system that makes a noise if you haven't put the gear down. Okay, so let's start dropping the flaps. And again, I've put the flaps down too far without the gear, which we have just corrected. So now we have the gear down, we can go for full flaps. And we can cut the throttle back to idle if we need to. So it's so predictable in the air. It makes it a joy to fly. So just coming in nice and gently. Trim the throttle off now and glide in. It's so easy to control. Even with quite a lot of back stick pressure, it was still very easy. So flaps back up and we'll taxi around to the end and we'll go park it. So this is the Piper Arrow. Obviously we've only scratched the surface with it here today. We've just got the engine running and taken it for a quick circuit. But it has GPS, it has VOR radios, so you can have a world of fun with flying it as a private pilot would. Go and explore the world at 110 knots. And the sounds are fantastic. Just to make this a bit more fun, should we park in the hangar instead of outside? So this is the payware scenery of Booker Airfield. It's the only payware scenery I've got. I wonder if there's room in here for our little aeroplane. Oh, there's a bug in the scenery. Let's see if it's going to break. Yeah. We're not obviously supposed to drive through the hangar. It looks okay from outside, but... oh, that's a shame. Yeah, see, it looks fine from outside. It's just not designed for you to interact with. Let's go and park on this parking spot where they wanted us to begin with. Okay. Parking brake back on. Starve the engine. And engine's dead. There we go. And we can just go and switch everything back off now. Again, we could run through all the switches doing everything. Oh look, we made the man disappear. But yeah, there you go. There's the Piper Arrow in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It flies wonderfully. It's modelled wonderfully. There's not much else to say about it really. It's brilliant fun. And if you get it from JustFlight, it comes in a pack, or there's a pack available with several other aircraft, so you can make you can save a lot of money by buying the pack, and you get the Turbo Arrow and the Arrow and a few others as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. and hopefully I'll see you soon.